since we messaged, hold on, or since we got together, Wednesday live and unscripted. I'm getting a message here from our guest. One moment. All right, she'll be here in just a few minutes, which is great because that gives us time to just like get reacquainted and let you know what's been up and what's coming up. It's really cool. So, you know those moments when you have a lot going on and you're building and creating and then things fall by the wayside. Yeah, I've been getting to experience one of those fall by the wayside. Some not feel goods in my body and just deciding where to take some of this and looking for some new fun guests. And so here we are. And it's super easy to want to, I would imagine that you understand this feeling as well. Super easy to want to judge yourself or be hard on yourself and all of the things that come along with that, you know, thinking that you don't have what it takes and nobody's listening to you anyway and all the things. Like, it's really interesting what goes through the mind. But I'm here to tell you, if you're experiencing one of those things, you can move past it and through it. All right, I see Amy there. Amy, I can see you. I'll bring you on and just I was going to send you a message that said, you don't have to be all fancy, and I didn't get it done. So look at you. All right. So if you're in one of those moments where you're wanting to think negatively about yourself because you're not taking the steps you want to be taking, or you're not moving as quickly in the direction that you want to be moving, whatever that thing is, I'm going to encourage you to just sit back and breathe. And be easy with yourself. Put yourself on the gentle cycle. You know, like on your washing machine, how you have all the cycles and you got that gentle cycle for all the delicates. Treat yourself delicately and be on the gentle cycle and realize that life happens. And a lot of times life happens really quickly. And sometimes we do step off the path a little bit. And it's okay. It doesn't mean that you're lost or that you've fallen all the way down the mountain. It just means that you maybe needed a little time to think, maybe to have some snacks, get your bearings, catch your breath, and then figure out, get your compass out and figure out which direction you're headed. So that's kind of where I've been. I may still be there a little bit, but you know what? It's about taking the steps. And so I'm really excited to share our guest with you today. I met Amy through a company that we both are a part of, and she's just a beautiful soul. So I'm excited to bring her on here in just a few minutes. But until we get to there, let's start how we always start. For those of you who are new, we always start with a little breathing exercise. For those of you who are not as new, you probably have forgotten because it's been a while, and that's a-okay. So let's just do basic box breathing today. But as you do it, I'm going to invite you to really concentrate on heart coherence. So bringing your heart into that level, smooth, beating rhythm that allows your mind and your body to get into the parasympathetic state, which then everything can then function as it was meant to function. Get you out of that fight or flight or freeze moments and just brings you to present. So as we do this, I'm going to invite you to let go of everything that's happened up till this moment and to do your best to let go of all the things that you think you have to do for the rest of this day and just be in the right here, right now. So box breathing that we're going to do today looks like this. It's a breathing in through your nose for a 4 or 5 count, whatever is most comfortable for you. So breathing it in, and you're going to hold that breath for a 4 or 5 count, and then you're going to release it through your mouth. Really release it deep. Hold the exhale, and then you're going to repeat. As you're breathing in, I'm going to invite you to bring in the feelings that you really want to be feeling, that you may be missing out on or not feeling really in touch with. Those feelings that will upregulate your system and bring you to that really coherent heart space to the here and now. And that will also help regenerate all those tissues and organs that are already regenerating. Only now we're going to teach them really awesome things. So that's on the inhale. As you exhale, I'm going to invite you to just let go of the huh. all those things that you feel like are weighing you down, that the negative self-talk, the unhealthy conversation you may have had with a family member or a friend or whatever. Let that stuff go as you breathe out. So let's do one together, and then let's do 3 cycles on our own, and then we'll come back together and bring on Amy. So I'm going to invite you to do this with a downward gaze or closed eyes, whichever works and feels most comfortable for you. Again, just as a way to bring you right here, right now. As you do this, recognize the change that you feel in your body. Notice how you sit in the chair. Can you feel the clothing on your body? Can you feel your feet on the floor? So breathing in, hold that breath in, breathing out, holding that exhale, and repeat for 3 cycles on your own. Let's go one more cycle. Awesome. Go ahead and finish up the cycle that you're in. And when you're ready, feel free to open your eyes and just notice. Notice the peace and the calm that comes to you in just 30 to 60 seconds of breathing. Your mind, like what's going on in your mind right now? What's going on in your heart, in your body? Did you notice the changes? I'm going to ask Amy what her experience was with this, because she's the one I'm going to get to talk to live. Remember, you can make comments, and we'll get those later. I'll try and pull those up as we go. And also, if you have questions as we go along, feel free to ask those, and I'll make sure that if there are questions that we don't get answered in here today, that we get those to Amy, and we'll get those answered down the road. All right, let's bring Amy on. So Amy is someone, like, you guys know how this works. I love to interview people who, luckily with Amy, I actually have met her once. So that's awesome. We just recently met. But I love having these conversations with people who fill my soul, who are my people on this planet, people who I probably knew from other spaces before, and who have a power and a mission here on this planet. Amy's one of those people. I love watching what she does. I love watching what she does inside the company. I love how she's a mom. I love how she is a believer in Christ, and how she not only just believes, but she lives and learns and shares. And that's something that's very near and dear to me. And one of the things that endears me to her. So Amy also runs a website. I'm going to let her tell you about that, what goes on there, and then some of the cool things that she's up to, and just kind of how she overcomes fear and discouragement in her own life. I mean, let's get you on the screen. You're going to get your own countdown. Da, 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 ta-da!
Hi.
There you are.
I don't know how I follow all that. I mean, that's crazy. Thank you for all your kind words. That's awesome.
Oh,
You
yeah.
filled my cup, and just what you said, it was amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You look great.
Thanks. I honestly, when you asked me to do this, I'm like, am I going to have to be on video or not? Because honestly, you guys, if I have to be on video, I'm like, I haven't done my makeup in a really long time. Nor have I done my hair.
And I didn't get the message to you that said, I'm going to be wearing a hat.
I love it. No, and honestly, it actually feels good. You ever have those days when you're just like, sometimes you have to just put on some makeup? I may or may not have on my cozy lounge pants, though. That's what's really awesome about video. So you can do that, and it's still good.
Right? Do you have on your fuzzy slippers?
No, but I have on my flip-flops, which are actually fuzzy slippers to me. My feet get too hot and they sweat, so I'm not all about fuzzy slippers. So.
I love it. Me either. I got on Tevas. Okay, so one of the things that I love to ask people, so again, for those of you who are new to the Live and Unscripted, it's changed names a few times. I used to call it Unscripted. I used to call it Fun Scripted. And then it just kind of settled into Live and Unscripted, because there's no set questions. There's no set format. Again, I'm just bringing to you people who I see add a lot of value to this planet, and to the people who they have contact and influence with and over. Amy is one of those people. And so it can be an array of topics and conversations. And that's what I love. Sometimes we're talking about political things. Sometimes we're talking about health things. Sometimes we're talking about just tough life challenges that somebody's overcome. And so if you're new to this, welcome. Sit back and relax, pop some popcorn if you want to, and just notice how inspiration and spirit leads and guides this conversation, because I'm telling you, there's going to be some good nuggets for you because you're here. And so, Amy, thank you again for being here. Thank you for your belief in inspiration and guidance through the spirit. And before we get into that, though, I always ask this is the one question one question I always ask people is, tell us about Amy as a young Amy. Like, what were you like? What did you like to do? What did you aspire to? What did you always want to be?
Well, I grew up actually in a big family. There was 5 kids, mom and dad, and it was a little crazy. My brother and I were the tail enders after like a 5.5-year break. And so it was the 2 of us were like the cabooses on the end. So I grew up like knowing what I could and couldn't do, because I had learned by example what my brothers and sisters could and couldn't get away with. And
you had a lot of leeway being a cabooser, right?
I mean, I've been told that by my sisters, But
I'm an oldest child. I know how this works.
Yeah, we had an amazing life. We had a lot of challenges in our life. When I was growing up, my dad got sick when I was in 4th grade, but I would never have known that because we always lived our best lives. We camped all the time with my grandparents. Family was a big thing for us. I was not athletic. I think sometimes, Jen, that's why I say I want to be one of those people who like loves working out and is a super big enthusiast, but I haven't found my groove, because I was that girl who was always good enough to almost make the team. So I would always be the one that would be on the list for statistician. I would take the score. And then about that didn't always work for me. It's like 7th or 8th grade. I finally was like, okay, I'm coordinated. So I started cheerleading. So I don't know if you know that about me. I was a cheerleader.
I'm like, I didn't.
Yes, I was a cheerleader all the way from junior high all the way up to varsity in high school, where I chose as a junior to say I'm done with cheerleading my senior year, which most people are like, why would you do that? Because I had other goals that I wanted to do. So I wasn't afraid to ever leave something to go on my next adventure. I was never like really physically attached to something, even younger in life. Right alongside of the cheerleading, I was also a band geek. I actually played flute. Yes. I played from 5th grade to my senior year of high school, and I was first chair. I went on scholarships to band camp. That was me. I love music to this day. It speaks to my soul. Literally,
mine too.
Yeah. Like emotions. My daughter yesterday listening in the car, she's like, Mom, why are you crying? I'm like, because music just makes me happy. Like, that's what I love. So yeah, I think it was just.
Were you in a marching band?
Oh, girl. Yes, I was in the marching band. And just so you guys know, the school I went to private school. My parents, it was like the community that I grew up in was very conservative. And if you didn't go to private ed, you weren't really on the first list of people who was getting into those golden gates. Like, it was like known, like you sent your kids to private school. So I was there, and we did not have a lot of funding, right? Because we were a private school. So we had these old polyester, like they look straight up from that 70s show. Like Kelly green pants, white shirts, big, like the big collars, and like the black cummerbunds. They were so gross.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but it was fun. We didn't have football because we were a private school. So the only thing the marching band actually did was march in 2 parades a year. So there was that. But yeah.
So did you still have to do like all the early morning practices, and even though you're marching at those 2 things, like how does that work?
We really didn't because we didn't have football. So it was kind of like the end of the year shebang. Like you knew that around like March you were going to start practicing. So it was kind of cram as much as you can in. So we probably looked like the most pathetic band marching down the street for the parades because we had like a 2-month window to like perfect our steps and half of us didn't know what we were doing. So they're like, oh, yeah, here comes the private school kids. There they are. Those are the ones that are getting into heaven right there. They can't march, but they're going right up there.
Who cares? They'll be at the gates playing for us.
Right. So for sure. It was really fun. It was fun though. I mean, I have some really great memories about some trips we went on and all that good stuff. But yeah, I mean, I really loved life. I was very carefree. Always, just looking to the next thing. When I was in high school, I will tell you the very first teacher that ever like breathed life into me was my freshman high school biology teacher. His name was Mr. Stan. And he encouraged me so much. I actually figured I had a brain in my head and it worked and I could actually get good grades.
Like the influence of a teacher.
Yeah. And I actually caught up with him a few years ago and told him what a difference he made, which was really a fun opportunity to have. But I never aspired to do what I do now. When I was in high school, I thought I was either going to be going to cosmetology school. Okay. I was going to be.
See, I could have seen you doing that.
I mean, I could have too. Like, I love to be creative.
I don't know that I could see you being fulfilled doing that, but I could see you doing that.
Right. Okay. And then high school English teacher. That was the next choice. I loved creative writing. Writing is like another thing I love. And then you guys, are you ready for this? I lived in the Midwest, okay, in the armpit of the United States in Indiana, and I wanted to be a marine biologist. Ooh, because I had a love I had a love for animals. And I'm like, well, I'm going to work at the Shed Aquarium downtown Chicago. Hello. Like it's a half hour from my house. But there's only so many jobs that you can get at the Shed Aquarium. I might've been like the fish feeder or something like that. So that wasn't going to work. So yeah, so that's a little bit of everything from my childhood. Yeah.
I love it. So did you end up doing any of those things? Marine biologist, English teacher. What was the first? Oh, cosmetology.
No. So actually, none of them. I actually worked in a salon in college. Okay. So I was going to school to become a dental hygienist. I'll share how that happened. And I worked in a salon part-time and I would schedule the appointments for all the clients and I would sweep up hair after the bossy hairdresser who owned the salon. So yeah. However, she was like, broom, right here, broom. So I'm really being serious too. She was wonderful, but she was also kind of a dictator. But when I was in high school doing band, our band director actually made it mandatory that you be at a practice after school, after hours, whatever. And at that point, I remember I had a really big decision to make because I worked in a dry cleaners. That was my first job ever. I worked for, her name was Barbara. And we would joke because Barbara was really a special person. And so my girlfriend would be like, you better get it right or else you're going to have to talk to Barbara. Barbara. So it was like a really thing. So I kind of wanted to leave the dry cleaners because of Barbara. And my friend got a job at a dental office. A woman came in with coats that had to get cleaned from the dental practice. And she had this cush job. Back then she was making $7 an hour, which was a lot of money.
Right.
$4.75 an hour at the dry cleaners. Okay. So $7 an hour, $4.75 an hour. I feel like my mom right now, for the record. This is an old school. Like, gas was like 89 cents, and so I'm like, girl, you don't work weekends. You work, a few hours after school. Like, can you hook me up? So she helped get me a job at the dental practice.
Gotcha.
There, I started to assume responsibility with the doctor and the dental hygienist there. And they were like, you're a people person. You care about people. You're good at this. You should consider healthcare. And the doctor was like, I want you to be my assistant. And I was like, I don't want to work with you. But what she does, I can do, because the dental hygienist kind of had her own room and she did her own thing, and she
Right.
could call on the doctor when she wanted him, but otherwise he was kind of out of her business. So that's how I became a dental hygienist. I shared with you that my mom my dad was sick, right? Fourth grade, 5 kids, private ed. My mom was a nurse, praise God. She had a college degree, so she was able to support all of us. And she supported us well. She couldn't do it without help. God is good. We had community
Sure.
around us, right?
Sure.
There was a lot of struggles. Like, again, I said, wasn't really aware of. But she always taught us, be a strong woman, get a job that you can support your family. You never know when something's going to happen to your spouse, or if you choose not to get married.
Right.
Whatever it is you choose in life, you need to be self-sustaining. And so she really showed us what hard work and what ethic looked like. And so I chose dental hygiene because I was like, that chick makes bank. Like, I can go to school. Well, at the time I thought it was 2 years. They didn't tell you needed 2 years of undergrad. So it was 4 really. But me being mismotivated, I went in 3 years and I got my dental hygiene degree, and I came out and I was already with my husband. We got married very young, and we just started working, living life and enjoying our time together. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, I never thought I was going to be a homeschool mom of 3 kids, running a website from home. And I mean, it's just crazy how the path changes and how God is like, here we go.
So almost every guest that I have interviewed has a very similar story of like, I wanted to do this. This was my dream, as growing up and into high school and into college. And I'm here, and I'm not sure how that leap happened to get me to here, but this is where I'm at. And most of them are grateful that they're in that space. Now, I know that the space that you're in now has a lot to do with something that I really particularly love, and that's 1, people, and 2, the health and care and nutrition of those people, and not just nutrition of the body, but also nutrition of the mind. As a personal trainer, people say, oh my gosh, do you love it? Well, honestly, I don't love it, because training people's body parts is boring for me. But if I can train a whole person, and then that lights me up because I watch them light up. And that's something that I've noticed in conversations with you. Now, for those of you who don't know, we get on a call. There's a call every morning, Monday through Friday, where a bunch of these crazy soul people get together and we talk life, and we talk business, and we talk development, and all of these things. And so this is where I really got to know Amy and kind of what she stands for and what she does. And so I really want to kind of start leaning in that direction, especially because we're in a space right now where life is a little crazy. Our world is a little crazy. Our governments are a little crazy. Our food systems are a whole lot crazy. And the more I learn, the crazier it gets. And so finding these ways to help the people, again, who we have influence with and influence over, to take back their sovereignty by taking these little steps to take care of themselves is so freaking important. And so I really would love to talk about how you segued into that. We can talk about your website, your own experience with taking back your own sovereignty, your own spirituality, and how all of that just kind of plays in. That was a whole lot.
So do you have like an entire lifetime?
Right?
To explain all this?
I know.
It's a process. Oh my goodness, is it a
Absolutely.
process, right? I think for me, to be honest, I got into this by accident.
And so where did you start?
Yeah, I got into it by accident. Having a sick parent. I had my last son, and I don't know whether it was a little bit of postpartum. I don't know if it was hormonal imbalance, call whatever you want, but I went through this whole really bad, almost like PTSD of health anxiety, and the bottom is going to fall out. Maybe things that I had suppressed from my childhood that didn't necessarily get dealt with. And I had a beautiful family. My husband, CJ, is the love of my life. He is my best friend. Like, we have a beautiful marriage. It's not perfect, but it's pretty beautiful. And my kids are amazing. They're healthy. So here I was feeling all of these things and anxiety and depression and fear, paralysis. And I'm like, what do I do with this? And the medical community, although I believe it's super powerful and it's necessary, it has its faults. Like it's broken right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we have to be our best advocates. There is a place for it. There are doctors who are amazing at what they do, but trying to find someone who aligns with your belief systems is more important now than it ever has been before. Because if you're not out there advocating for yourself and what you believe in, someone is going to just tell you what they want you to do. And it's not always for your benefit. It's sometimes just what they have to do to get through their day because of the way our health care system is broken. Right.
Well, and you brought up something that I think is really super important personally about ourselves right now is we have to advocate for ourselves. And that can be a challenge because we oftentimes have so many voices going against us saying, yeah, but that's not how it's done. That's not how it's done. That's not how it's always been done. And to stand again, that's why I say I love doing the whole person so that they can have the strength to stand up for themselves and their families. So I love that you brought that out.
Well, and it's so true because when my clients come to me to help them, I'm always like, listen, I can tell you what works for me till the sun comes down. The reason why I do what I do is because I feel like when I was in that place, especially because I shared with you guys the conservative community that I grew up in, you put on your permagrin, you smiled, you went about and you did your things because no one wants to hear about your garbage. No one wants to hear, just put on your smiley face and go on because we just have to walk the path. This is what happens, like deal with it. And I felt alone and I felt broken and I was ashamed of it and I felt guilty. And I am so thankful for this community of holistic health. And that's why I do this, because I don't want anyone to feel in that spot. I mean, I missed a part of my life. I missed that joy with my family. I missed the growth that I could have personally been experiencing during that period. And I believe in divineness. I believe in intervention. I believe I went through that struggle to help other people. And so that is where I'm at. And that is why. But that's what I tell people, like my story, I'm happy to share it with you. I would love to sit down and do coffee and talk. But I also want to listen and I want to hear you. And I want to help you find the tools that are going to get you where you need to go so you can live your purpose and your life and feel wholeness. That's my passion.
I love it. And I love it. You said one thing that I think is really interesting. For me, it's super interesting because it's a topic that I find fascinating. We all experience it. And you said that you felt shame in that. What did that shame look like for you, and how did you manifest that in this process until you learned a different way? Because I know there's someone out here who will be like, "What? I'm not the only one." Like that's actually shame. Can you describe that or what that was for you?
Well, in the group, how I grew up too, and I had amazing, loving parents, but like you're always said, like, oh, someone has it worse, or it could be worse, or like your reality is your reality. Your perception is your perception. And I feel like what you were talking about in society too today is that if we could all realize that all of us are born in a different position and we all have a different reality and stop faulting people for that and start listening more. And that's where I was at. I felt like I was being told a certain thing. I should live a certain way. I should feel a certain way. I should be happy for what I have, that I didn't want to bring my garbage out there. I wanted it to look good. Like I wanted to have this, I guess more like, how do you present, right? So the shame of like feeling like, okay, I have this anxiety and depression, and it is something that I'm going through in here, but why? Why? Like you have it so good. Like, why do you feel that way? Right.
Yeah.
And so it was almost just like shame of like, when you get like that, especially through anxiety, depression cycles, which I have found in myself, you manifest things that sometimes aren't even there, or the things, but you don't always know like how to get out of the things. Okay. So that's where the growth and the tools come into play. That's where having a community of strong individuals, like some of you ladies on my morning call, that you can say, All right, so that's fine. You felt that, you've done that. Now, how long are you going to stay there? And what does that say about you? Right?
Right.
Those are the tools.
I love that piece right there I'm saying we now because we're in this
Yeah.
together in the group, but that we go, you can look down a hole and see somebody and be like, oh man, I've been there and I understand the feelings, and you want to shrink away and you just want to sit in that corner and like nobody see you. And
Yes.
sometimes we verbalize certain things, but that we know enough people who can toss us down the ladder and be like, hey, I got some tools. Like, it's going to be okay down there. And like, you're not alone. And this is normal, natural part of life. And not only do they toss down the ladder, but they come down it with you and help you get back up. And I love that those are the tools we're learning, and that you're going to get to share some of them with us today.
Well, and you feel too like you don't want to be dependent, right? We're strong women.
We're
like
taught
we can
that too, right?
Yeah, right. So God forbid that I actually have to depend on or lean on someone else, right? So that was that, so when I started all of this, I really just felt this need to dive all in. Holistic health helped me. It helped me with, supplementation of what my body needed, the nourishment, the adaptogenic herbs to help me with the mood and all those things. But it gave me so much more than that. You were talking about my website, and my website really, to be honest, it's a hub. It's just a hub of who I am, get to know me. These are some of the services that I do. But really, what I want people to see when they see my website is the name of it is The Abundant Life. And I chose that very intentionally. I prayed over that because we cannot truly live. We cannot truly have that abundance until we're really willing to let all the parts of ourself go and grow into this person that we were created to be, no matter what that looks like. And it's mind and it's body and it's spirit and it's movement and it's all of these things. And you can't have one without the other. Like, you can fight it. And I fought it for years. I'm fighting the good fight. I'm still fighting it. But I'm doing it with some really amazing people in life that are helping me reach that abundance every day,
Right. I had a thought just come through my head. No, it's gone. It's gone.
Yeah.
About abundant life.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's the thing. I think with that growing pattern, sometimes we think if I just get to this point, then I'll be good. Or if I can just figure out how to, then I'll be good.
Yeah. So this was my thought, is you're talking about we have to have all the pieces, and it's that understanding and that like emotional maturity of knowing that we can shine light on our dark places, and we have to shine light on our dark places. And that's how we actually heal. It's how we grow. It's how we come into an abundant life, because then we're not hiding away. We're not still in shameful space. This other thought came to my head of like, what does abundant life mean for you? Because it could mean something different for someone else.
So abundant life for me it's simplicity. Like, honestly, I feel like over the last few years, I've just stripped everything away to the bare core of like what really makes me tick as a person and what brings me joy. And what it comes down to is I just want to be aligned with whatever purpose God has for me. Like, people say that, and I always was like, whatever, how are you going to figure that out? Like, did he put a blinking sign over your head? Like,
here's a sign.
And I always said, God, just send me a sign. But he was. And I was fighting the sign. So guess what all that anxiety and all that depression and all those things were? That was me fighting the process of letting go and letting him grow me into who it was. He already knew what he created me for. He did not create me to be small. He did not create me to be stuck under a rock in a corner, trying to pull away from people and friends and family. And trust me, you guys, the voice is still there. Like, it's there.
Yes.
I've been fighting it this past weekend. It's trying to sneak up on me again. But I know that that's not what he created me for. And so I have to keep my eyes on that. And so when I can let all else fall aside and know, like, he created me to love people, to support people, to show compassion, to be his hands and feet. So even in my business, The Abundant Life, like, do I sling herbs? Absolutely, I do. Is it a business? Yes, it is. But when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, I literally want people to be like able to decipher what is it that they were created to do. What is it that's going to bring them that abundant life? What's going to pull them out from under their rock? Because that's when I feel fullness. When you're aligned with all those things, you know, then you just have this peace that passes all understanding. That sounds so cliche, you guys, but it was written in a book.
Man.
That's
Yes.
really true.
It is true. It's so true. We experienced it yesterday.
Yes.
It was amazing. On the river.
Yeah. Well, and you know, that's the thing too, Jen, though. Like, the more I learn about natural health. So I went to school to be a dental hygienist. I retired from my job in dental hygiene last August during COVID 2020. And I'm a master herbalist now, gut health specialist, you know, health coach, all those things. But I will tell you, I don't say those things because I know it all. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Like, holistic health is a rabbit hole. Okay. I've got some amazing mentors, right? Like, you can never know enough. But what I've learned about it is that when we were talking about medicine, right? And what people do, it's just what you do. Holistic medicine was here first, right? We have changed the path in the course of things. And so
pharmaceuticals change the path and course of things. It's about money. Let's be real.
Correct. And here's the thing that's sad about that is that there are pharmaceuticals that could really help people, right?
Absolutely.
Like, there are things that can help. However, it's just like the greed has taken over, and it's not about helping people anymore. It's about these people, and it gets people very wealthy very fast. But when people poo-poo holistic health, where do they think all that stuff came from? It started here. Like, we had all the plants. We've just chemically made them shine to do other things. And it's kind of just become, again, overcomplicated. When you overcomplicate things, then you take the simplicity out of them and they become ugly and they become gross, just like our lives.
Absolutely.
And so that's like, that's for me. I just feel like, you know, just when you guys go through the process, you just crack wide open, and then there's no going back. There's no going back.
There is no going back. It's that you can't unknow what you know.
Yes.
And the reality is there's a small part of us that still seeks that comfort, that, you know, our little secrets, our little darlings, we want them. And yet at the same time, we're like, no, because I know something different. And but sometimes taking those steps, this is what I tell people. The way to live an abundant life, a life of simplicity, is to learn how to live in discomfort and to recognize that you can be comfortable in discomfort because it's going to be always changing. It's going to be always experimenting. That's the beauty of our souls. That's what our souls thrive for. And it's this, you know, human-y skin stuff that is like, no, but that thing back there, like my Twinkies and my, you know, my soda or my, you know, whatever thing is the thing that comforts us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hard to let go of. And we're who we really are.
True. No, 100%. And that's the thing, though. It's like right now we have this movement of self, right? Because we're the center of the universe, right? We're not. Like, it's not about us as much as it's what we were put here to do. That's my belief, at least. But I just feel like, and you and I have the same train. Mine is moving faster than my mouth is moving. I had a really good thought. But what you said about finding abundance in discomfort, the second you get comfortable, you should be on your lookout because something's coming in. Like, there's something coming in. There's a storm brewing.
Opportunity.
Yes. I mean, when I was called to homeschool, I literally was like, you guys, I never had a Samuel moment or who was it? Samuel and Elijah, right? In the temple, when Samuel was hearing God call him and he told Elijah, and he was like, go back to sleep. You're dreaming. Go back to sleep. You're dreaming. I never have heard God talk to me. Okay. Like, maybe the Holy Spirit, like in my innate being, but I've never heard him physically. And I remember one day I was making the bed in my bedroom, and I literally was thinking about the next year, and we had homeschooled our kids, and my anxiety was like at the max, and I was thinking about finances and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden I heard this voice clear as day, and it was like, well, you could homeschool the kids. And I was like,
You're like, who
oh
said that?
what? Like, you're talking to the wrong girl. I was like, well, that was weird. And I like pushed it down. I was like, I'm not doing that. 2 months. 2 months.
Wow.
I had a conversation with my husband the next month, and I was like, babe, and he's like, really? Like, you want to do that? I'm like, no, I don't want to do that, but it just keeps coming up. I can't get rid of it. I can't shake it. And until I actually called the private school and I was like, we're not coming back, that like sealed the deal and like cut that off. And that's the thing, like that discomfort, that scaredness, that when I was willing to let it go, same thing when I quit my job, you know, I was scared. I needed that financial stability. When I cut that tab, it was like, my boss keeps asking me, because we still have a really great relationship. She was like the most amazing person in the world. Are you coming back? I'm like, Doc, I still feel like I'm on just like a really long vacation. Like it feels like yesterday. Like I love it. But God did other things in my life and brought things in. And now I'm thinking about going to get my naturopathic doctor, and I really don't want to. Like I do, but I'm scared to death. How am I going to do this? How am I going to balance all of this?
Right.
But it's in those scared, like, again, keeping me small things that I'm like, okay, I can do this, you know. But the challenge there, that is just always, it's so powerful when you open yourself up to what it could be.
So how do you, when you're in those moments of like, let's just take the naturopath stuff of like, okay, I'm thinking about going and doing this, but I got all of these voices and all of these thoughts and feelings, and they're on both sides of the pendulum. And how do you find a place of peace and presence in order to make those decisions, so that you're not making them out of fear, you're not making them out of a place of like incoherence with your heart, your mind, your gut, and just tossing out there and like finding comfort in your decision of like, this is my voice. This is the one that says, this will be a good thing for me to do right now, versus this is something that's going to be good for me, but at a later date. How do you know the difference for yourself? What's your process to move through that fear?
So that's a hard question, because that looks different for a lot of people. But for me, honestly, I feel like this is my mindset, and it's taken me a long time to get here. I feel like if it's something that I'm meant to do, I have to have faith. Like, I don't know what the outcome of it is going to be until I do it.
Right.
Prayer is huge for me. Feeling that it's like, I don't make brash decisions. Like I pray and pray and pray. If you were in my office right now, you would see a ton of just stuff laying everywhere, because my office needs to be organized. But you'd also see note cards of scripture around my desk. You would see prayers that I have written around my office. Like I really believe I'm putting things in front of you and then meditating on them. I guess what I want to say basically is faith is something that you can't see. And sometimes you do have to go with your gut and what the Holy Spirit lays on your heart. And I know that nothing that I could do in this world is not already planned by the one who created me to do them. And so when I take myself, are we noticing this? Okay. If I take myself out of the equation, no matter what I choose to do, it was purposed in this life. And I think that gives me peace. Like that gives me abundance, because I can't mess it up. Like I might make mistakes along the way, but those mistakes are going to be the things that help me be who I was supposed to be. I was talking about that with a friend today too, just with, different choices that we're trying to create in our lives right now and things that we're trying to decide. And it's just very true. Those stumbling blocks are sometimes the things that get you to the top. And I don't mean the top of success. I mean like the top of your abundance and like what you're here for. And
those stumbling blocks become foundational pieces.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. It's hard. It's not easy. I mean, and sometimes I still wrestle with it. Like wrestling with something is okay. Like it's
That's
a real thing,
absolutely okay.
right?
It brings
I mean,
strength.
through the struggle, we figure
Well,
it out.
and here's one thing I love about what you said, about, lots of prayer and meditation and immersing yourself in, and you didn't say these words, but this is what I heard you say: immersing yourself in Christ, and then trusting that faith and moving forward. And this is what I tell my clients and the people who I have influence with, is that you can't make a mistake.
Mhm.
All it is a choice. You're making a choice to go in a direction. And if you get down that path and you go, this doesn't quite feel right, or you get banged up, it's not that you have failed. You've come to a point where you get to make another choice and either
Amen.
follow that path and get banged up more, or take a 1 point turn, or a 3 point turn, or a 180 turn. But it's not that you're failing. And I love that you said that it's all created for you. It's already been done. And now we get to just follow the path. And I think when we can grasp a hold of that, and I'm not perfect at it yet. Like sometimes I really suck at it. And even though I know it, and I have to say to myself, oh my gosh, Jen, you know this. Like my soul knows this, that I can't screw up. And yet this stuff is really slow to remember that. And so I love that you brought that out. We don't fail. We just make choices. Some work really good and others work really good at saying, this isn't the way you're supposed to be going.
Well, and where did this whole idea of this making the best choices and the perfect choices, like where do those ideals come from? Because those are worldly ideals. Like if we look like biblically, if we're talking like Christ, like if we look at the Bible, at the people he chose, they were not the ones who were walking the high wire. I mean, they were like, you want to talk about struggle, like they were the ones struggling, right? There is struggle in the journey. Like there has to be. And
Yep.
he used those very people to show us, look at the amazing things. Like one of my favorite studies, if you guys haven't done it, is the study of Gideon. I got into that Bible study when I was just getting into, when COVID had just started. My friend and I bought it in November at a conference. Jen, I think you heard me talk about this before. We didn't open it up until March of 2020 when we got stuck in our houses with COVID. And it's all about, God literally defeated an entire army with like 300 people. And Gideon's like, I'm small. I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. And God's like, you're right. You can't do this, but I can. Right? So like, are we going to believe that he can do those things that he set out to do in us? And sometimes we need to remember that. Like we were created for big things.
I have to tell you, I appreciate that reminder today. Like that actually wells up a lot of emotion in me today, because I've been fighting the demons. I know I feel like a small army sometimes, but I know who I am and I know whose I am. But sometimes standing in that space of, oh my gosh, I'm facing this large army. And we have examples of it all through the Bible where they're like, well, I don't know how we're going to do this. And something happens and then they're all of a sudden the winners, and they didn't really have to do a lot besides take the steps. And then they get all the things more than they ever imagined.
Yeah.
So
and there's strength.
Appreciate that reminder.
Well, and there's strength and weakness. I mean, I'm with you. I am with you.
Yes.
I have a lot of my own struggles going on right now too. I mean, we all do. That's life. But what I will tell you, what God has made even more apparent to me right now, and I'm thankful that you're one of those people that are at my table, that he brought you here, but who you have in your life matters. It's not a matter of thinking you're better or thinking someone's worse or anything like that. It's a matter of who is your community? Who are you going to for? Like, I have so many sisters in Christ, people who are like, I do life with, mentors, friends, people I can receive from. I can't receive from everybody.
Right.
There's certain people that are placed in our life who breathe life into us or who suck it out of us. And you need to keep it. Like I've started to, people always tell me about this. They're like, towards your 40s, you are going to start choosing who's at your table.
Right.
whatever, the
So
more the
true.
merrier. And now I'm like, wait, I don't know, that seat's taken.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a second, because it is a real thing. And,
Yes.
and I'm experiencing that as well. And because I am who I am and I love people and I love including people, but I
Yes.
also know that everyone is not the person who's going to fill my cup or has intention to help fill my cup too. And
Yes.
and to unhook from those who are just energy suckers. How do you do that? Because we're going to get that question. Someone listening to be like, I want to know what she does, because I'm right there too. And so what's that process for you? And how do you sidestep, and I know it takes emotional and intelligence and spiritual intelligence, sidestep those feelings of shame and guilt of like, oh my gosh, I'm leaving somebody out, or I feel so horrible because I don't want to hang out with them.
You know, it's been a very big process for me, and I've actually done a lot of counseling over it. I have an amazing counselor. Her name is Dawn. She's like breathed life. Yeah, she's breathed life into me. But I feel like she really taught me about boundaries and controlling what I can control. And I can control my reactions to things. I cannot control people's actions. Okay. So I have to realize, like, she actually has an exercise. If you guys don't, or you haven't heard of it, Google it. It's actually control circle. So like, you're the center of the circle. How much is that? Like, our society loves that you're the center of the circle. And then you have your control circle. You have things you can kind of influence. And then you have the outer circle, which are things you can't control. She literally has taught me to think of where does this fall? Like, what can I control? What can't I control? And then compartmentalize it and then let it go, like, depending on where it falls. And it kind of comes into what we've talked about too, about, the mistakes, and, you can't make the wrong, like, it's supposed to be how it's meant to be, right? Those things that we can't control. We have no influence over them. Let it go. Like, it's not going to happen. You're not going to change the world. You're trying to take control. You're trying to play God. You can't do that. That's not your place. That's his. Let him do his job. Right. And so I think that's been huge for me. And again, boundary setting. It's a process though. It takes a lot. I'm actually in the process right now in my growth of resetting boundaries for my life and what I accept and what I don't accept. And I'd be lying if I didn't say it was a daily chore. I've had to make some really big decisions in my life about who I allow to influence me and who I don't. And there's been a lot of hurt, and there's been a lot of crying, and there's been a lot of just sadness, because some people, there wasn't room in my life anymore. But at the same time, when people say that to me, oh, I'm so sorry to hear about blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know what? It's okay. Like,
okay, right?
it's okay. You know why it's okay? Because God put that person into my life, and I loved the heck out of them while they were there. And he also took them out. Like, there was a reason. Like, something happened, and I have to learn from that, because I have to be able to move forward, forgive, and grow. I can't stay there. Like, that's the biggest thing. You cannot stay where you are. It's okay to feel all the things, like, feel all the things. Okay.
Right.
Acknowledge them. But if you don't have the tools to move on, find someone to help you find the tools to move on, because you can do it. Like, you can do hard things. That's like my motto. You can do hard things, and
Absolutely.
you can experience abundance, but you have to do the work. And I work at it every day. So I don't have like this, just find you some good people, and align yourself with your belief system,
I think that right there is a moment of like finding those good people and the recognition of them.
Yes.
And like, okay, like, I felt amazing while I was with that person, and I feel filled, but they say they feel filled at the same time. And being able to recognize that and then filter out the rest and put them in those other places, that's been quite a journey for me. I struggle with it, and others, some days not as much. I guess it depends on how tired I am of all the shizzle, but I love that one.
Yeah. And we're going to have good and bad. And we just, it is what it is, but life is good. My husband and I, we camp with our children. We bought a motorhome this past year. We just renovated it. And I got this really freaky boho shabby chic wallpaper that everybody doubted me on. But I was like, I know this is going to look good. And I've got a plaque in the middle of it that says life is not always perfect, but it is beautiful. And it is. It is beautiful. You can find beauty in every single thing. You just have to look for it. It's true. Through all of it.
Yes, that piece right there. Again, one of the things I love to teach people is there is beauty in every moment, even in the ones that don't feel so good. There is beauty in there. And we just have to take the time to recognize, to soak it in, to experience it. It does take a healthy mind and body to do that.
Correct.
And so what are some of the things that you recommend for people who are wanting to get on this journey of taking care of themselves? What would be some of the things that you would recommend that you do for yourself or have done for yourself that you're teaching your people how to do to get on this path?
Well, number one is just set those boundaries, okay, for yourself and everything that you do. Boundaries are so important, even for ourselves. Make yourself important. Set that time aside for you. When you schedule things in for you. We can't pour from an empty cup. And I think a lot of it stems from there because so many of our behaviors are decisions that we make in our tiredness, in our exhaustion. Oh, I don't have time for that. Oh, I don't deserve that. Oh, I can't do that for myself because I've got so-and-so's appointment and my husband needs his lunch made at this time and blah, 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 blah. And then before we know it, we're under that rock like this because we haven't done that. So set that time aside, number one. And then also like what we do matters. What we nourish ourselves with matters. For me, herbs have been an amazing part of my journey. Adaptogenic herbs I take personally for that mind and body balance. Everything
we're just going to put a shameless plug in. P.S. Soul people, SOLLE, Soul Naturals, the way to go.
Right?
I run this show. We're just going to plug it.
Right. So I do, because honestly, I looked and looked and looked. And honestly, I always said to everybody, this fell in my lap. It was a total divine thing because I know now that I've gone to school and I've looked at labels and I've learned how to read them and I know what gut health is and I know what herbs are and what they need to be in order to be therapeutic. Every single day, I am so thankful that I have one of the best labels on hand to recommend to people with no doubts in my mind. Because I have that backing of all my education and learning that this is the real deal. So that's helped me mounds and mounds. There's so many people walking around that are nutritionally deficient and just can't even fill their bodies with what they need because of the depleted soil, because of the food sources,
Sometimes at no fault of their own.
Correct. Because you don't know what you don't know. And you have to look for what it is that you need now. It's not just out there. They're not just like, oh, here, this is the most amazing brand. They're trying to market things that are bad, to trick you. It's like a whole bait and switch thing here, down to colors, shapes, people, feelings. Like it's all about how can I generate this inside to get people to buy something, even if it's garbage. There's a whole thing that's a whole nother talk.
And I'm like, we're going to do a whole nother podcast about this.
But that is one of the things too. I always talk to my clients about the importance of movement. There's always this like back and forth. I kind of call it like the Goldilocks and the Three Bears, right? You have people who are super fit and high intensity and, let's go to, I don't even know the name of it because obviously I don't do it. What are the like?
CrossFit?
Yes, thank you. So the CrossFit people, and then you have the people like me who are like, oh, I'm going to do yoga.
Nothing against CrossFit people.
No,
I know.
Right. I think that the people are amazing. I'm saying for myself, like I'm the one who's like, oh, I'm going to go do yoga and I'm going to walk. Like it doesn't matter what you decide to do. Like that's the point. You just have to move. Movement is movement, dependent on your goal.
Well, and I tell people, do movement that feels joyful and filling for you.
Right. Exactly.
If it doesn't feel joyful, it's counterproductive.
Correct. And that's why a lot of times I call it movement because I just don't want it to look or feel intimidating for anybody at wherever they are because it's possible.
Yep, same here.
So like you said, find what brings you joy. And then, sleep. How much rest are you getting? Are you taking time to rest? Our world glorifies busyness, like glorifies it. Like if you ain't doing all these things, if you're not the hustler and the herb slinger and all the things, right? Like, and that's just what I do. Like I'm joking about that, but you have to slow down. Your body needs to rest. Like that's part of the component of all the things. So, I really just try to focus on balance, Jen. Like if I have to be real, it's balance. You can't function when something's up here and something's down here. So what are we saying yes and what are we saying no to? We have to give our best yeses because that's what brings us health. When it's out of balance, then forget about it,
Yeah. Well, and to go along with that balance piece, sometimes I'm like, is it really balanced or is it just juggling all of the things in a way that we can keep them in the air without, breaking?
Mhm.
So like and what I mean by that is, a couple of years ago, and I've told people this, I was training for a 100-miler. I was processing a lot of deep emotions. I was newly married to my wife. I had just jumped out of my steady paycheck job, all of the things. And I had started a couple of years before feeling this tiredness.
Mhm.
And I was like, what is going on with me? Like, this isn't me. I don't feel like me. And after a while, I'm like, I feel like it's changing my personality. And I don't love this. And as I was training for that 100-miler, I had this moment out running 20 miles somewhere to train. And I thought, something's got to give. And
Mhm.
it wasn't even about finding balance. It was, I can make the choice. I can be wise and look at all of the things going on, all of the things that I'm juggling. And like, I've got a chainsaw in there and I've got a hatchet and I've got china plates and I've got, and take out the ones that are going to cause the most damage. And am I willing to do it myself, which is
Yeah.
a challenge? Or is it one of those things where God's like, and I'm just going to help you out and either cause sickness or injury or, whatever. And so
Mhm.
that's why I say, sometimes it's a balance, it's a juggle, and we get to figure it out or it's going to get figured out for us.
Well, and you have to listen to your body.
All of these things that you just stated are really great measures to do that listening.
Well, and that's the thing for me. And this is why, again, hence the abundant life. When I was overburdened, when I was unbalanced, when I was all of those things, sometimes I joke and say I created my own anxiety and depression because I didn't listen. I didn't slow down. I didn't heed the
Absolutely.
signals because I was on medication before, and I'm not shaming anyone for medication or what they choose to do. I'm no longer on medication. Why is that? Because I've found that balance. I self-inflicted a lot of my own anxiety and depression. Now, do I still have a tendency for it? Yes. But now that I'm in health, right? I'm growing. I know the signs and I have the tools and I have the community. And when I start to feel that, I start to do the steps to get myself out of that place. And so it does matter. Yeah, it does.
Right. Well, and don't you think it's amazing thing? And I'm making a huge assumption right here in this space, but I also think I know enough about you that you know this, is that we have all of these bodies. We've got a physical body, mental, spiritual, emotional, and we out here in the ether bodies, we get clues. We get
Yes,
clues. And most of the time, most of us choose not to listen, or we don't know how. We haven't been taught or we haven't paid attention. And so we end up with a physical ailment.
yes,
And then we just tag ourselves. We're like, oh, I have this thing,
yeah,
or I've been diagnosed with this. And the reality is, it's just a wake up call. It's
yes.
just a wake up call. And it's not even that you have that thing. It's something saying, I need your attention because out here, there's some other
Mhm.
things, but that we don't have to be sick.
Correct.
We
Yep,
don't have to be sick if we choose to be awake.
absolutely true. I could not agree more. And that's what holistic health is. If any of you guys are wondering, that's what holistic health is. It is like a wake-up call for listening and advocating. And I mean, it is. It's the most amazing thing. It's so multifaceted. I say that all the time. And that's why I love it. I'm going to be a forever student. I love learning all the
Me
things
too.
so that I can just pay it forward and keep, helping give that information where I can. And I do it humbly. I don't know all the things, like none of us do, right? But I love this. Like I love this conversation. You know, I love doing this, what we're doing right now.
Yes. Yes. And I think that's one of the things that I really enjoy. And again, is a draw for my spirit to yours, is that I recognize the humility with which you do it, and the honest, real approach that you take with people, and meeting them where they're at, and helping them understand that, this is this moment. It's not always going to be like this. And you don't, and this is one of my favorite conversations with you, and that I've seen you have with other people, is you don't have to do it their way, but you can take their way and mold it in a way that works for you. And I love that you are a great example of that, and that's what you perpetuate, again, with those who you have influence on, or those who find their way to your website or to your doorstep. And it's a beautiful thing. It fits beautifully with the holistic nature of who you are as a person and as a spirit. This question keeps coming to mind, is, as we're starting to wrap up, is what is one, I don't want to say one, why holistic? And what are some of what are some of the pieces that light you on fire when it comes to sharing with other people? Because I mean, there's so many of them, but what are just a couple of them that really just besides soul plug?
Well, why holistic? I feel like just because people are looking for answers, I guess. And my counselor says this to me sometimes, because for me, again, we talked about once you see, you can't unsee. And it's not even about proving a point or being right or being wrong. It's about helping people search for answers and find the truth. Like, it infuriates me when people are being lied to for an agenda, or for someone else's purpose, or for someone else's pocket. I feel like I want people to know and find their truth, not something someone else is trying to make them see. And that's what it comes down to for me. And I'm good with whatever that looks like. As long as it's your truth, you've done the things, you've done the research, you've done the work. If that's yours, you find what sets your soul on fire and then cling to it. But I want you to do to find your truth.
Yes.
That's one of the biggest things, I think, is just, I don't know, challenging people's thought process to look deeper, just to not just take things for what they look like. That's really one of my big triggers is just truth finding, really. Holistic health for me is just, it's very organic. I'm not a very complicated person. I'm very simple. I always tell my husband I could live in a cardboard box with the 5 of you and my 3 dogs and my 2 cats, and I would be completely happy. Because simplicity brings peace. We've overcomplicated this life. All the things. I mean, I'm actually, one of these days, Jen, you're going to see me running around with like flowers in my hair and bell-bottom pants, and I'm going to be feeling the love for everybody, because I'm like starting to move that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I feel that in my soul.
I actually sense that in you. Like, that is a big piece of who you are. And it, like, even just how you are right now, like, all you need was the flowers around your head.
Well, I got my dog sitting next to me, so she's ready. She's like, "Okay, Mom, where are we going? Let's pack that motor home and let's hit the road,"
Right?
So it's awesome. But yeah.
I can't wait for that day. Flowers, peace, child.
Like,
as we end this, just thank you so much for sharing your spirit, your soul, just who you are with this audience, and the audience that you get to have influence with. What are 3 words to live by that you would leave with our audience, or sentences to live by?
Oh my goodness, girl. That's a tough one. I mean,
I know you're like, only 3.
No, I'm going to give you my 3 words. God laid them on my heart a couple years ago. And I opened up my devotional one morning. And again, it was by his divine. Every morning he meets me exactly what I need. He provides it for me. and it makes me emotional. But one day I opened up my Bible and I was trying to find direction. Like you asked me, like, how did you know? Like, what do you do? And he literally put a verse out for me. It was walk in it. Walk in it. When you know it, when you feel the direction, walk in it. Don't be afraid of it. Walk in it. Do the work. Be the person that you know you were meant to be, and let everything else fall aside and just like walk in it, because it will be the most amazing thing that you ever decide to do when you follow what you know you were created to be.
Love it.
So yeah, but thank you for having me. This was a blessing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this is a huge blessing for me too. I just appreciate you so much in my life. You are a person that you don't even know what you mean to me too, and I'm just so thankful that you're at my table. So thank you for inviting me on today.
It's our pleasure. It's my pleasure. Enjoy family time. Enjoy happy holiday and safe travels. And we'll look forward to doing this another time. Are you around on Friday? Are you doing the Friday call?
I am doing the Friday call. It is going to be a quickie. We're leaving for Michigan. We're gonna pack the rig and we're out. We're out of Dodge. So
all right. Yeah. I'll see you on Friday. And for the rest of you, we'll see you on a Wednesday soon. Remember, walk in it. Be bold, be brave, and be a rebel. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.